Science Journal for Kids and Teens presents How Do Groups of Ants Make Shared Decisions? Read by Miranda Wilson. Abstract. Have you ever noticed that animals living in groups tend to work together? For example, African elephants typically walk in a line for safety and follow the age and experience of the oldest and largest female. This is called follow the leader strategy. But what about the humble ant? Ants often work together to transport large food items back to their nest. Since ants can't talk to each other to make decisions, they must rely on other senses to work as a team. We wanted to find out how weaver ants cooperate to move large items. So, we observed ants in the lab trying to move objects. We discovered that no single ant takes the lead. Instead, they pool their opinions to decide on which direction to go. This is known as the wisdom of the crowd strategy. Introduction. Animals that live in groups need to be great at problem solving and working as a team. They must have consensus to avoid conflict and keep the group together. There are two ways to achieve consensus. Follow the leader. One or a few individuals have control over the group's decisions. Or wisdom of the crowd. The group makes a decision by bringing together all the members' opinions. An example of when groups need consensus is during cooperative transport. This is when several individuals work together to move a large object from A to B. This is only really seen in ants and humans. We can simply talk to each other, but it's not quite that easy for ants. They can only rely on local information gathered from their environments. We've seen evidence of cooperative transport in over 50 ant species from all over the world. It helps ants retrieve much larger items of prey, allowing them to feed the colony. We examined the cooperative transport behavior of weaver ants, Ecophylla smaragdina. Weaver ants can forage for large prey items through cooperative transport. They have even carried birds back to their nests. But we wanted to know how they are so successful. Do they follow the leader or use the wisdom of the crowd? In this image, you can see the weaver ant, Ecophylla smaragdina. The ant's head is facing toward the bottom of the photo, and its green abdomen is facing towards the top of the image. Methods. To help answer our question, we observed weaver ants carrying objects in the laboratory. We used more than 2,000 ants from 9 queenrite colonies in our experiments. We released the ants into a large arena. We hadn't given them any food for 24 hours to make sure they were hungry. We put grasshoppers in the arena for the ants to transport. They were cut into pieces to represent light, medium, and heavy items. We tied the grasshopper pieces to the floor of the arena with a thin string, one piece at a time. The string stopped the ants from bringing the grasshoppers all the way to the nest, but it still allowed the group to swing from side to side. We recorded the ants' behavior once the ants picked up the grasshopper piece and fully extended the string. We looked at the size of the group and how far they moved away from the average direction of travel. We also wanted to know what would happen when ants could move freely in a complex environment. So we set up a corridor at a right angle to the arena entrance. Then, we placed a grasshopper piece in the middle of the corridor for the ants to find and transport. We recorded the ants' behavior again. This time, we looked at how fast the ants moved and how often they stopped. We also looked at how straight their path was and whether they ever retraced their path. Here in Figure 1, you can see an example of ants trying to move something tied to the ground. The large black dot indicates where the object is attached to the ground. The solid black line indicates the tether. The gray circle is the object. The ants pull the object to either side, indicated by the red arrows and the dotted lines, but the average direction the ants pull is indicated by the arrow. Results. We found that the heavier the piece of grasshopper, the larger the group of ants that transported it. Also, the heavier the piece was, the less side-to-side movement the group had. The groups that carried the lightest grasshopper pieces moved the farthest from their average direction of travel. So, as the groups got bigger, their paths became straighter. This matches what we would expect from the wisdom of the crowd strategy. When we made the environment more complex, we saw similar results. Ants moved more slowly within the corridor than the rest of the arena. When ants carried lighter grasshopper pieces, they stopped less. They also stopped less when they were in the open arena, no matter how heavy the piece of grasshopper. Here in Figure 2, you can see how quickly the groups of ants moved pieces of grasshopper of different weights when the environment was more complex. On the x-axis, you can see the 3 different weights of grasshopper pieces. From left to right, they are light pieces, medium pieces, and large pieces. These are also visualized by portions of a grasshopper leg. On the y-axis, you can see the speed of the ants in millimeters per second. For each piece of grasshopper, you can see information for ants in the corridor as orange triangles and ants in the open arena in purple circles. Looking at the graph, how did the speed of the ants change when they moved from the corridor out into the open arena? How did the weight of the grasshopper pieces impact their speed? Discussion. We found that weaver ants work together to navigate accurately while transporting heavy objects. We saw that their path gets straighter with more ants helping. This shows that they use the wisdom of the crowd strategy. Each ant has their own sensory mechanism telling them where they should be going. They pool together their information to increase their accuracy. They are able to sense the forces produced by the other ants through the object they are carrying. As the group size increases, the accuracy increases. If individual ants make errors in the direction they pull, it gets canceled out. This means that larger groups end up taking more direct routes. We confirmed this by looking at how weaver ants navigated when they could move freely within the environment. They slowed down and stopped more when they were in the corridor. This is because they had more conflicting ideas about which direction to travel. When the group made it to the open arena, they were able to speed up. This is because more individuals agreed with each other. In contrast, ants that follow the leader don't slow down or stop more in similar experiments. They just follow the leader. What makes weaver ants so special? They live in complex habitats and likely have knowledge of the route back to their nest. They use visual, magnetic, and olfactory cues to help them navigate. This then allows them to contribute their information to the effort of the group. Conclusion. You can do things with a team that you might not be able to do by yourself, just like weaver ants. There are also lots of different ways to work with a team. Think about how teamwork plays a role in your own life. It might be at home or at school. How do you communicate with those around you? Does it vary depending on the environment you're in or on the number of participants? When do you tend to follow a leader or be the leader? And when do you cooperate to make decisions? Thank you for listening to this recording. This work has been adapted from the original peer-reviewed paper in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society B, published on August 14, 2024. Research conducted by Daniel Carlesso, Madeline Stewardson, and others from the School of Natural Sciences at Macquarie University in Australia. See the full list of authors and their affiliations in the accompanying PDF. Please visit our website, sciencejournalforkids.org, for more free science teaching resources.